Hello and welcome to People to People's Facebook Live. It is Friday, the 7th of June. I'm Ben Wheeler and I'll be your host for today. I am in Brisbane today, so I'd like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land, the Turrbal people, and to elders past, present and emerging. We do have an action-packed show today, so we're going to go through a stat of the week with some insights into the Australian economy. We've got hot jobs across Australia, New Zealand and the UK. And we're going to be talking about emojis. And yes, I'm saying emojis. So thumbs up, thumbs down, smiley face. And we're going to be joined by my colleague Suhini, who's become something of an expert in this field. And then we're also going to go through our usual social media poll results. So let's get into the stats. So hot off the press, we've got some stats that have been released by ABS, just come out regarding the latest economic data. So the first one to share with you is our economy, which everyone would have seen no doubt in the headlines today, a modest 0.1% in the March quarter and 1.1% compared to the March quarter of 2023. Whilst this was the 10th successive quarter of GDP growth, GDP per capita fell for the 5th quarter in a row due to weak economic growth and strong population growth, which has made quite a difference. The second point I'd mention is around the annual inflation. So this continued to ease. The consumer price index rose 1% in the March quarter and was up 3.6% compared to the March quarter of 2023. This marked the 5th consecutive quarter of lower inflation compared to the previous year. Inflation for tradable goods slowed as some imported goods like footwear, furniture, household appliances were cheaper than a year ago. And lastly, get to wages. So wages continue to grow. The wage price index rose 0.83% in the quarter, reaching 3 consecutive quarters of it being above the 4% mark compared to a year ago. The last time this happened was in March, quarter 2009. So during the quarter, private sector wages grew at a faster pace than those in the public sector. So there you have it, hot off the press from the ABS. Let's get into talking about some of the jobs we have. So let's start with Australia jobs. So we've got a customer service role in Queensland, a customer administrator, I should say, based in Murray, paying $34 to $35. And if you do want to get in contact to find out more, you've got the contact details of my colleague Mel Hammond at the bottom. Our second role is, again, based in Queensland, in Milton, a senior HR officer. This role is paying $90,000 to $100,000. It is on a permanent basis, and you can get in contact with Leanne and again see the contact details just on the bottom of the screen here. Moving on from just Queensland, so we've got a section around just working holiday jobs. So if anybody is tempted to certainly take advantage of those across the globe, we've got some positions in London and also over in New Zealand. The first one is an IP paralegal. So this is paying $33,000 to $38,000. The second role, a real estate senior associate, again based in London, $75,000 to £90,000. And then going all the way to New Zealand in Auckland, we've got a legal secretary role at $70,000 to $80,000. Right, let's talk emojis. Welcome, Suhini.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So emojis in the workplace. So there's getting quite a bit of media traction at the moment. So we know that it is certainly increasing. In fact, over 75% of people use them at work. And from what I could see, just doing some Googling earlier, there are over 180 emojis. I am definitely the least qualified person to talk about emojis, but as I said earlier, I think you are seeing here something of becoming an expert in this field. So firstly, wanted to ask you, why do you think it's becoming more prevalent? Why is it hitting the headlines now?
Well, it's interesting that you said that I'm an expert, and I'm an expert not necessarily because of my role at work, but probably because of my generation as a millennial. We are avid users of the emoji. We excessively use the crying laughter face. It's just part of our genetic makeup at this point. And I think as we've gotten into, I suppose, have a wider spread in the workforce, and particularly with Gen Z coming in strong after us, we are so predisposed to using emojis in the workplace that it's just become another method of communication.
Yeah, I think I've definitely seen how it's sort of almost crept up, and even with the uses we do with Teams, and you see the number of emojis, and for the first time ever I click
the reactions.
Yeah, the reactions that come up, and then I click the other button, I could see, oh my God, there's all these other ones, and it could be quite confusing. Now, we have a sort of standard, I don't know if it's the same for everybody, that you have the thumbs up, you have the heart, but do you think that using the heart emoji sometimes can be inappropriate? Is there a right and wrong time to do it, and is that what's sort of confusing people and maybe causing some issues around communication?
Look, I think there can be some confusion, but I think it essentially boils down to knowing your audience. I think there's three main rules that you need to follow when you're using emojis in the workplace. The first one would be less is more. Don't overload your communications with emojis. I think, a light touch is always appreciated, and you have less chance of it being misconstrued. Second rule, formal emails, documentation, no-go zone. I think that's the safest approach. You're not going to, make the mistake of accidentally trivializing something that's important or significant in your career or in the workplace. And lastly, just knowing your audience, as you mentioned, it is, we've had an evolution of communication, whether it's, from email to instant messaging or phone calls to text, using casual words within emails like oops, for example. We've all embraced that. We've all been able to work around it. And I think over time, we've been able to sort of adjust going, right, who's my target audience? Are they going to receive this appropriately? Obviously, baby boomers may not necessarily be as accepting of a love heart emoji in communication as, say, for example, a Gen Z. But then, of course, we've got the issue where, depending on which generation you're from, the smiley face can be deemed very friendly or passive aggressive. So I think tread lightly when you're first starting off in a workplace, but as you get to know people, you're going to get more comfortable.
Right. Highly contextual. Yeah,
yes.
Really depends on the scene. And I do have a few emojis that I was hoping you could translate for me, so we're going to bring some up on the screen and just see
I'm
what
ready.
you would say, what does it mean, and when might it be used. So just bring it up here.
Shock, horror.
Shock, horror. Right.
Yeah.
I think it was
something big news has happened.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right. Glad you clarified that. Next one.
We're definitely going with thinking, although there is something to be said where I do know that Gen Z can use this ironically, where they are implying someone who's definitely not capable of thinking. So it can go either way.
Yeah. Or I thought it might be confused as well. So it just shows, that, you get one of these and there's so many different interpretations of it. Keen to see what you think of the last one.
Okay, well, this one, I don't know whether I would ever use it in the workplace. I don't think I've ever come across that in my conversations.
Right.
That being said, it is a highly popular emoji. And to be honest, despite the fact that although most people believe it is a poop emoji, it is in fact supposed to be an ice cream. Well, that's how it started.
Is that right? Well, there you
go.
That's
right.
I didn't think ice cream. Yeah,
it started off as a very innocent emoji, and then, of course, it became something a little less so.
Yeah, can see how that could easily be seen. So thanks very much for your insights. I'm sure we'll be talking about this a little bit more as it seems to be gaining some momentum. And we do actually have a poll that we're going to move on to just now. getting into our poll results, how often do you use emojis in work-related communication? 25.6% all the time, 18% internal messages only, 32.2% only for people I know, and 24.2% never. It's unprofessional. So don't send emojis to that 24.2% if you know who they are. And our poll for this week is, have you ever misinterpreted or sent an inappropriate emoji by accident at work before? Yes, I have, or no, I haven't. Really keen to hear what people have to say around this as it starts to gain some momentum. Thank you very much. Great, that's the show. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. As I said, keen to hear what the poll results will be for next week, and thank you very much.